everybody. Welcome to the Kat Timpf Show. Today, my guest is Sabrina Sabbagh, who I knew from, I was an intern at Fox News a long time ago, and I met you there when you still worked at Fox. And now she just travels all around the world. How many countries have you been to?
60 countries.
60 countries in what, 2 years? 3 years?
Well, I went to probably like 10 or so before my big trip, and then, the rest have been over the last 2.5 years.
So, yeah, you just, so you want to just like tell the story of how you decided you didn't want to do work anymore?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I didn't want to do work anymore.
Right.
I just didn't want to do the work I was doing. So, like we met when I was still working at Fox in LA, and I was doing like entertainment news, and it just was, oh man, it was miserable.
Sounds awful.
It really was. Like when you wake up every morning and you have to care about Justin Bieber and Lindsay Lohan, like how do you not want to flee the country?
Yeah.
Like I just don't really. No, so I just like decided I couldn't do it anymore, and I was like young-ish, and single, and I just was like, I'm done. Like I can't do this anymore. And I thought for a long time that I wanted to move up, and you know how it is. Like you start at Fox, like a company like Fox, and you think like, wow, this is great. Like I'm going to make money, and I'm going to, people are going to know who I am. And then I just didn't care.
Yeah.
I just didn't care. And seeing people like you, coming in, and I was just like, wow, like I'm in a farther along position than her, and like I want to be her because I just don't want to be as deep into this as I am.
I was bombing, by the way, for everybody listening. When I came to Fox as an intern, I was so weird. I was a very low weight because I didn't have that much money for food, and I also had to ride my bike because I didn't have a car.
Yeah, it was really horrendous. And also, it's Fox, and it's Fox in LA, which it's even worse than most places because the girls there are just dressed like a certain way, and the interns are all trying to really stand out and get attention and sort of get that next step. And Kat's in like jeans that are falling off of her, and she's not even trying to be sexy. Like her underwear is showing, but like not in a sexy way because like they're just too big for her. And she's leaning over, she's sitting in the most uncomfortable position,
little squatting position,
with her legs at her chest pushing against the desk. And I just like walked over and like slapped your knee or something.
Yeah, and
I
you
was
were like, no,
like ladies don't sit this way.
I wear those like flowery cardigans, but we've been friends for a while now, and it's just been amazing because I never travel, and you're always telling me these stories of all the things that you've been doing, and you're not afraid to do it on the cheap. A lot of people won't travel if it's going to be too expensive. You were telling me earlier about the people pay just like, to have a hot girl stay on the couch for free.
Yes.
How does that work?
People don't pay, but I don't have to pay.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Couch surfing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been traveling for 2.5 years, 60 countries. I've been spending an average of like $60 a day, which really isn't a lot. If you think about it, that's flight, accommodation, food, entertainment, obviously all of the things that you need, lots of pepper spray. It's expensive. So Couchsurfing is a website that I use where what it's supposed to be and what it ends up being are two different things. What it's supposed to be is a community of travelers that want to share in experiences and get to know people who are also traveling. Before I left on this trip, I got rid of my apartment, my car, I sold everything. But before I did that, I had like a nice apartment in LA, and I let people come and couch surf for free, like men, women, whoever. And the way it's supposed to work, they stay for free. You take them out a little bit. I would let them borrow my car. Like I would just like, I was like the like super host, like super couch surfing host. And so imagine my surprise when I try it in a foreign country, and one of the first places that I go, like this dude just gets naked in front of me, like the minute I walk in the door.
You walk in the door?
Yeah.
Did he explain himself at all?
Yeah, he goes, oh, but I don't put this on my couch surfing profile because like it's private, but I'm a nudist. And I was like,
oh no.
Do you also not put that you're a sex offender like on your profile?
What did you do?
I was so uncomfortable. I was so uncomfortable. But it wasn't like he was necessarily coming on to me, or it wasn't really that time. It was just truly like this dude is just a nudist. And I don't know if he's also like maybe like an exhibitionist. I don't really know what the deal was, but he had good reviews. Like, I check the reviews on this site because they have reviews, like things set in place to make sure people are safe.
Right.
And he had good reviews and nobody said anything about any of this. And, you know, I'm just there and I have my backpack and I'm in the couch or in the living room and on the couch and he just walks out. And I'm like, it was the most bizarre thing. So I sat there for a second. Well, first I asked him for the Wi-Fi password.
While he was naked?
While he was naked. Because I was like, I have to find another place to stay.
Where was this, by the way?
This was it was in the beginning of my trip. I think this was in the Mediterranean somewhere. It must have been like Greece.
Yeah.
And
so big naked Greek nudist.
Correct. No. He was actually an expat. Like he was British or something. So most people who host couch surfers are living in a foreign country that is not theirs.
Okay.
So it's a kind of a way to connect with people who are also foreign and you can kind of get sort of go out together and that kind of thing. But it's not like it's supposed to be a sexual thing. It's not a dating app. It's not supposed to be you know, rapey in any way.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes it turns out to be. So yeah, you know, traveling on a budget can be dangerous. It's really difficult. But I've learned so much from all my travels that like now I'm in a position to be able to like help people figure out like the best way to do this. So for me, couch surfing is huge because you can stay for free and you also offer something. You know, for me, with my background in journalism and like I'm really good at like editing photos and doing stuff like that, like I'll offer that service. So like I'll tell someone like, hey, I can teach you how to do this or that,
right? And
then you can stay for free. So it's kind of like it's not necessarily transactional. I'm also a good cook, so sometimes I'll cook for them or I'll clean, and you can stay just on the couch for free for as long as, you know, is reasonable.
How long did you stay with naked guy?
Oh no, I was I was in a cab and at a hotel within about an hour, which sucked because, you know, I have a set budget. So I arrived late at night and then I had to order a taxi in the middle of the night, which of course is a premium. And then I had to go to a hotel and pay like last minute, you know, fare, or not fare, but you know, to stay. And that was like $100 or something. And the whole reason I was there was to save money. So in like one shot, because this dude, you know, just like ruined my day. So things like that happen, you know, things always come up where you end up spending more money than you had planned to. And you have to really be good about budgeting because this stuff happens. And like as a woman traveling alone, I'm never going to put my safety at risk.
Right.
So if something like uncomfortable like that happens, I'm out of there. Like there's just no way I'm going to be like, well, I really don't want to spend the money. I'm just going to stay
with this naked guy. Didn't you say you found cameras in one of them before?
Yeah.
Like,
well,
you're
going to make people scared to couch surf, but
no, I mean,
there's good stories too. But yeah, this was in Spain, and I think just because was in the media, I can kind of recognize hidden cameras and like recognize that kind of thing. And I know a lot of creepy people, like you're actually one of them. like if I was staying at your apartment, like I would check your place for cameras, like
fair.
To be fair. Yeah. I just feel like I'm like really in tune to this kind of thing. Like I'm the kind of girl though that like if I'm like go home with a guy, like I'll just like casually like drop a piece of clothing over like the laptop or over like anything that casually like, oh, this fell here naturally. But yeah, so I was looking for this stuff and you know, I found it. And there was one in the bathroom, there was one in the living room, and this guy was completely normal seeming, but it must have been like a live feed, you know? So he was like getting money for this. And so he had great reviews. Everybody was like, he's so nice. Like he like didn't make us pay for anything. Like he took us out for drinks. Like, yeah, he took you out to get you liquored up. So you come home and like take off all your clothes and like, who knows what ends up happening.
Right.
And also he hosts a lot of couples. There you go.
Oh my gosh, there's just a live feed of people banging on the couch.
Yeah.
That's so bad.
I know, it's so bad. So I of course didn't like report him right away, or like I didn't like say to him like, hey, I see this, I'm leaving, because like then it turns into a snuff film, right?
And then he just kills you.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So I just was like, oh hey, listen, something came up and you know, I'm gonna need to leave. And then of course I called, you know, and couch surfing, honestly, they do their due diligence. They research the people. You do have to have, you know, some recommendations, that kind of thing. These people, like, it's few and far between.
Right.
I've couch surfed in so many countries. I've had such amazing experiences, but like these are just like the ones that like you of course find fascinating.
I do. Well, the whole thing is fascinating because everybody always says like, man, I wish I could just like quit my job and go travel the world.
Nice.
And you just actually just did it.
Yeah.
And you know, you talk about like how I know you save a lot of money. You're not afraid of talking to other people. You try to teach me how to make friends in New York. You had this like whole plan for how to make friends.
Because you're the worst.
I know.
It's really terrible.
I know.
Yeah, no. Well, Kat's version of making friends, like one of our other friends we worked with in LA, and she was in the office, and Jessica actually liked you before I liked you.
Yeah.
And Jessica was the one that was like, no, like give her, I know you hate everyone, but like give her a chance. And I was like, well, why would I do that? Like, why would I actually do? You didn't even have your glasses then. So like there's no reason to like you. Like absolutely no reason for anyone to like you. And you know, because it's fine, like, if you just have, like, a hot friend, like, but you weren't even, like, at that level.
No,
so,
I
like,
wasn't
you
hot.
You couldn't even be, like, the blonde token hot friend.
No.
So I was like, she's useless to me. What am I doing?
It's true.
So you remember you lean on the door frame into our office, and Jessica turns around, and I turn around, and you're like, does anybody have a phone charger? And I was like, who is this person? What is, like, I'm in the middle of, like, recording a story. You just, like, don't even knock. You just, like, open the door. And Jessica was like, of course, just being super helpful, you know, and she's just like, oh, like, she tries to give you like an iPhone charger, and you're like, no, I have like a Samsung Flip.
It was, yeah,
like,
stupid phone.
Like, I don't even know what kind of phone you had, but it was like the audacity that you would come in and like, you just think that like two like professional women are going to have like your random phone charger, and you think it's okay to just like barge into our office. It was like the most ridiculous thing. So then you walk away, and Jess was like, I mean, see, like, she needs your help. So I was like, okay, that's it. Like, don't lie to me and tell me she'd be a good friend. You want me to fix her.
And you did. You did a lot of work towards fixing me, and you still do. But it's just funny, like, I'll go to the, you know, bars with you, and, like, I go to bars, and I don't meet people. I've never, like, met a man at a bar, really. I mean, I guess I have, but I'm just, like, not really very good at it.
Well, I think the fact that you're getting, like, marginally famous now is the best thing that could ever happen to you, because now people are going to approach you on their own.
Yeah. And
I think that that's great, because otherwise, like, you would just be alone all the time and, like, not have any interaction with people. Like, you have your cat.
I do. Like, how would you know, what would you recommend to people that would want to travel alone? What do you do to actually try to make, because you made a lot of friends.
Yeah, but you know how I am. Like, when I make friends, they're not really like friends. I mean, I have very few actual friends,
right?
And the ones that I'm friends with, like, I would do anything for. Like, once you're at that level, like, that's it. Like, there's no going back. These other people are more like, you know, it's like a mutually beneficial relationship, but like, I'm talking like women also, but like,
right.
Not it's just like, we kind of get something out of each other in a way that, like, I'll meet people, and then we can share costs. We can, you know, travel somewhere together. We can do things that it's going to help me in the long run. So I'm a manipulator, you know, like,
right.
I always am going to try to get whatever I can out of the situation that I'm in, but not by like screwing someone over, like making sure everyone's getting what they want. So a lot of the people that I've met, you know, it's like we both want to go on like this tour. So like, I'll have them call and ask for the price, and then I'll call and ask for the price. And we're basically like getting them to take down the price, just the two of us, like with different accents, and making sure that like this company just like, well, I just heard like you offered this price to the other person, and then you call back, and then you know, so you go back and forth, like little things like that. I mean, we end up paying so much less for everything, just doing these like weird little schemes, I guess.
You told me once that you would go to bars and ask girls to take pictures of you for to send to your boyfriend, so that they wouldn't think that you were like trying to like take any of the guys.
Oh yeah.
And then say that you guys broke up, so that they would feel bad for you. That's brilliant.
God, I should put that in my book.
That's
I
brilliant.
forgot about that. Yeah. So just to explain, like, the point of that, it's, you know, a lot of times girls are very like intimidated by like another girl. It doesn't matter if you're attractive or not. And if you are attractive, it's even worse. And I am alone, and I do just want to like have a conversation. I just want to be like friends. Like,
yeah.
Please be my friend. And I'm like, people like me more than they like you.
Correct.
So it should be easier for me. And so, but I find that these girls, you know, and I don't want to talk to dudes all the time.
Right.
Because when I talk to dudes, they try to like, you know,
yes.
go home with me, and I don't want to do that. So I try to talk to girls, but they just like throw so much shade. Like, it's unbelievable how mean they are. So you're right. I would just like make up a fake boyfriend that I didn't have at the time, and then I'm in. Like, that's it.
And know? Then you say you broke up, and then they're like, "Oh, that's."
Yeah. If they're being salty still, I'll throw in like something else. Like, yeah, I just wanted to like send him like a cute picture, because like we're having a rough time right now, and like, you know, I'm just worried like I'm gonna lose him, you know, or whatever. Like anything.
I love that. I more like walk up to strangers and like, can you help me solve my problems that mean nothing to you? And they're like, what are you doing? Get out of my face.
Yeah, but it takes a lot of work to like be able to infiltrate, if you will, a group of people, because you know how it is. Like, think about it. If you're out with like your friends and there's like a random girl that just walks up to your group, you're gonna be like, who is this? What's she doing here? Go away.
Right.
And that girl, like, maybe she's just traveling alone and like wants somebody to like have a conversation with, but it's such a weird dynamic. Like, you wouldn't normally expect it. So for me, and all my years as a reporter helped me, like, now, like, you can approach anyone anytime for anything and just make up an excuse on the fly because you interview people.
Yeah.
So I always have an excuse to talk to people. And so I just kind of use those skills to get myself into social situations, whether it's lying about, not being able to take money out and like asking if I can put their drinks on my card so that they can give me cash, which also benefits me in general because I live on points. But basically, like, what I'll do is I'll just walk up to a group of people and be like, hey guys, like, sorry to interrupt, but you know what, my debit card isn't working. I don't know what's going on, but do you mind, is there any way I can pay for your drinks with my credit card? And then if you guys have cash, because I really need cash for a taxi and my debit card's just, it's not working. My bank froze it or whatever. And so not only do I get the points for the drinks, which the cards that I use, it's like three points per dollar on bars and drinks and food. But then it's a conversation like, oh, like, where are you from? Like, what happened to your card? Like, why do you want like, whatever, like anything. So it's just a way to like talk to people. So for me, I'm getting like a double bonus with the points and the conversation.
And then you meet, that's great. I obviously would never think of that.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes like I've been in countries where the fees to withdraw like cash it's unbelievable. Like, to take out $200, it costs you like $25.
Really?
Fees. Yeah. So I have a lot of ways to get around these issues, but in those places, I will literally go up to one of those, like, picture like an outside patio where there's just like a bunch of tables and restaurants and whatever. I'll go up to every single table and be like, hey. So sometimes I'll just tell them the truth. If they're like American or they speak English, I'll just be like, listen, I don't want to spend these fees. Like, I don't want to, like, I can't afford it, whatever. Do you mind? Can I pay for your meal on my card and you give me cash? And then sometimes I'll just play the whole, like, my debit card got stolen or whatever. It depends. Like, if it's dudes, I'll usually play like the sympathy card. Mm-hmm. And if it's like older people, sometimes I'll play the sympathy card. But if it's like people our age or like mixed or couples, I'll just be like, hey, like, look, this is going to cost too much money. Like, do you mind? Can I? And, they don't mind because what's it to them? Like, if they're going to pay cash anyway,
right? I'm
still paying the same amount. And, it's just like moving on to like each table. I would spend, maybe like $400 on my credit card, which for me is points, and then just have cash in the local currency because I don't want to have to pay to transfer, the money from whatever currency to the next.
Do you have any other tips like that? Anything else?
I have a ton. I have, I wrote an ebook all about travel hacking, that, like it's basically just everything that I've learned from the last, 3 years basically of traveling. And it's crazy because before I set out on this trip, I read so many books, but it was like one thing from this book and something else from another book. And there was no one book that was like, okay, here's how to do it. Like, here's how to jailbreak your phone. Here's how to not pay fees. Here's how to get cheaper flights. Here's, all of the things in one place, because every book was like completely different.
Right.
And this, it's just, it's pretty short. It's like 50 pages, and it's just everything that you could possibly need to know about doing what I do, but not necessarily long term. Like, it's not for people who like are going to quit their job and like do what I'm doing. It's for people who either want to make the most out of a week off, or travel long term.
Yeah. I mean, was there a country, like, what was the most fun country? Like, where should I go?
Well, that's the thing. It's like everybody, it's very subjective. Everybody would have a different experience somewhere. I think for you would
what?
I think you would really enjoy like the islands in the Mediterranean. Like, you would really like Mykonos. You would really like Ibiza, or Ibiza as they call it.
Yeah.
Because it's just like it's a party 24/7, and I think
really,
yeah, I think it's fun because you can do the partying if you want to, but then you can also lay on the beach and be lazy. which for you I think is perfect because you'll have like one big night and then the next day you don't want to get out of bed.
Yeah.
So you don't have to get out of bed. You can just lay in like a Chase lounge by the pool or by the beach and just get, you know, someone to like bring you drinks all day. And then you go out at night and it's incredible. But these places are, people think that traveling has to be expensive, you know, and it doesn't. And you can go to these places and stay in like, you know, decent accommodation and do all of these things for really cheap. And I think if most Americans realized how easy it is to do this kind of thing, they wouldn't be, you know, restricted to one vacation a year for a week or whatever it is. And that was one of the reasons I left Fox, was because, you know, even though I had, I don't know, what did we get? Like 6 weeks of vacation a year or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But
I've never used mine.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I would try and they'd be like, nah. Like I would ask for time and they, you know, they would just say like, well, look, you know, when you're on air, you can't take more than, you know, maybe like 5 days in a row off or whatever it is. And so, but that's why people have this kind of idea that, oh, well, I only get 5 days, so I may as well like really go big. You know, it's like, I really should just do as much as I possibly can, spend all this money, do all this stuff. And it's terrible because if people realized how cheaply they could do it, people could be flying to, you know, South America on a 3-day weekend and back for free, basically. If you implement the tips that I have for like travel hacking and flight hacking and all of these other things, they're really simple. Like I'm not that smart of a person, and like I figured all this out. What
was the most dangerous country you went to?
Oh,
I mean, like 60 is a lot of countries.
It is. You know, I've been to a lot of places in the Middle East, and I think depending on the time of year that you're there, and what's going on in the rest of the world, it can be very dangerous or it can be incredible. I've had both experiences. You know, there was a lot of problems going on in Israel at the time that I was there. There were, you know, shootings and they were setting cars on fire. And I went to Bethlehem, which actually is in Palestine. Mm-hmm. So you have to leave Israel. I was in Jerusalem and I wanted to go to Bethlehem, and it was a really scary situation because they had canceled all the tours. There were no tour groups going, but I was only there for a few days. And I was like, well, I want to go. Like, I'm just going to go. And so I took a taxi and I walked through like on my own, which everybody was like, you can't do that. Like, this is outrageous. Like, don't, like, go back. This is stupid. And of course I'm not dressed normally. I'm dressed conservatively. I'm not trying to draw attention to myself. But it was really scary. I mean, I could tell, like I wrote a blog about it because it was so intense, and there was, you know, violence and car fires and protests and all this stuff going on, and no Americans, no tourists. They had canceled everything because of what was going on at the time. And so I'm sure somebody who is listening to this who was in Bethlehem like last month would be like, no, it was amazing. It was beautiful. There were like children frolicking in the street and rainbows, and maybe. But that's the thing. It's like sometimes the places can be very dangerous and sometimes, you know, they're not. It's just like any other place.
Well, is reading the news or anything help with that? Like depending on what's going on in the country?
It does, but it's the same as like the fear mongering, you know? It's just kind of like you're either going to be really scared of everything or you're just going to sort of take your chances. And I feel like I should have ended up dead in a ditch like a long time, like in my teenage years, like definitely already. And so now I sort of feel like I already escaped death many times. Like, that as long as I'm careful and as long as I, you know, make sure that I'm doing things that, you know, aren't going to lead me to, you know, the ditch,
right,
I should be okay. And I do proof of life, you know, like I there's a few people that I text, you know, daily. If I'm going to go, you know, surfing or I'm going to go do something where I don't have my phone, I'll text like a couple people and be like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'll text you in a few hours. And then if they don't hear from me, they know something's wrong.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They'll know something is wrong. Well, yeah, you've a lot of scrapes because you had cancer, and that's like part of the reason why you were like, fuck this.
Well, yeah,
you know,
I guess we're going there.
I mean, I'm not going to talk about your cancer, but I'm just like saying, like, only a little bit. Like that's, you know, that's why maybe a lot of people don't think about, oh, I'm actually going to die. But if you're faced with something like that.
Right. Yeah, that's true. You know, it's not something that I really dwell on. It's not something that I talk about a ton. But it was influential in my decision making. But the reason that I honestly don't mention it that much is because I don't want people to think like, oh, okay, now I get it. And I don't want people to think like, oh, well, okay, that makes sense. She like almost died, so now she wants to live her life to the fullest. everyone should live their life to the fullest. Everyone should do this.
Because we're all dying, actually.
Exactly. And I just feel like it's just such a cop-out for me to be like, yeah, you know, my life flashed before my eyes. And I'm like, no, I just got really pissed off that I spent a ton of money on like medical bills that I could have spent traveling. And so I decided that I was just going to save my money, and the money that I couldn't save, I would sell everything and get that money another way. And I just thought, this is so stupid. Like, it honestly wasn't even about my health and my future and, you know, whether it's going to come back and all these things. It was the fact that I had been saving money for a long time, because that's just what like adults do.
Right.
By the way, write that down, Kat. Save
money. I do save money.
And I, you know, I don't know what it was for necessarily, but I was just saving money because that's what you should do. And that's what my mother tells me to do. And, you know, I listen to her because she's smart. And then it was gone. Yeah. It was just gone. Like, all of that money that I saved.
That's such bullshit. Can we talk about what bullshit that is? Like,
listen,
awful.
when you're making good money, you're single, living alone with no tax write-offs, no property. Like, I was in the highest tax bracket. Like, kill me, you know? Like, yeah. I mean, oh, poor me. I was making too much money to like get my cancer paid for.
Right, but that's awful.
It is awful. It is awful. And that's what my mom said. At one point we were having, and my mom's just like super, like, loves Fox, like staunch Republican, like all of the things. And she was just like, I mean, you should just quit your job, because if you weren't making any money, you could just get all of this paid for. She's like, Obama would just cover it.
Obama. I love the way wasn't she mad at Trump for being like, he was definitely born here?
I'm sure. We haven't talked about it yet, but I'm positive she was mad about it. But the thing is, you know, that's really what did it for me, was the fact that, okay, I've done all the right things. I've you know, worked hard. I got myself to this position, and I saved money, and now it's just gone. And yeah, like, fine, I'm better. I'm not going to die. But like, for what? For what? Like, all that money was just gone, and I didn't do anything with it. I didn't, you know, and I just thought, like, this is so dumb. This is just so stupid. And so I decided that I was just going to start over again, like, save it again, and do something. Like, honestly, just like do something, because now if I were to get sick again, Obama is going to pay for it. It'll be fine. Like,
that's true.
Because I'm unemployed.
Yeah, well, you know, what was that story? I want to hear the full story about Morocco that you mentioned earlier, and then I'll leave you alone about dangerous, horrifying stories.
Okay. This is such a bad story. I'll just bullet point it a little, because it's like it's terrifying.
I like terrifying things.
I know, we're friends. So. I don't know if people are familiar with Morocco, Marrakesh specifically, but it's a maze. It's just little mazes of everything, and there's shops everywhere, and it's like adorable if you're not, you know, potentially going to be like assaulted. But it was late at night, and
that's how you could describe, like, you know, a lot of dudes. Adorable, but I might be potentially assaulted. Yeah. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So I was, at this time, normally I dress very conservatively if I'm, you know, going to go out in these countries. So Morocco is a Muslim country. They speak French and Arabic there, not a lot of English, which I can understand a little bit of Arabic. I can get by, but it is not something that I can, like, converse in. Mm-hmm. And I was gonna go out for a drink, and I just thought, you know what, I want to, like, look nice. You know, I've been, you know, wearing like jeans and baggy t-shirts and whatever for too long. Like, I want to look nice, and I thought it was early enough. I thought I'd be back in my hotel before any kind of problems. Well, I wasn't wearing something so revealing, but it was definitely not appropriate for the place I was. Yeah. And I finished, you know, drinks, and I was walking back, and the place that I went was very close to where the taxis go. Oh, so by the way, these mazes, it's only walkable. Like, you can't take a car or anything. And I get turned around. It's dark now, and I'm walking around, and I'm asking people, like, where's the taxi? Like, where did the taxis come? And people are just looking at me like I'm crazy. Like, nobody even understands, like, what I'm asking or why I'm there. And I'm actually saying it, like, in Arabic, and they're still just like, nah. Yeah. So I think part of that is the fact that they speak French there, and they just can tell I'm American, and they hate me. Yeah. So this little boy comes up to me, and he's probably like, I'm not good with children's ages, but I assume, like, I have no idea. Honestly, like, I'll be like, oh, they're 4, and they're like, he's like in seventh grade. No.
It's hard. They develop so early these days.
I have absolutely no idea. Like it'll be like a little baby like on the floor, and I'm like, why doesn't it talk?
I know. I don't understand children.
So he must have been young, like 8 or something. Like it's too young to be interested in girls or anything like that. You know, like young. And so I'm asking him like taxi, and he starts sort of he acknowledges that he understands what I'm saying, and he sort of like leads me. He takes my hand at one point. I'm like, okay, like I'm not into this. Like you're leading me by the hand, but fine. I'm a little bit scared, and it's really, you know, creepy and confusing. And I'm not really paying attention until I'm in the middle of this labyrinth, and I have no idea where I am. There's no more tourists. There's no more shops that are open. Everything's dark, and I'm start to think like something bad is going to happen. Like this is not normal. Like this kid is leading me somewhere that I should not be. And it didn't occur to me that like he might be in on it until I got around a corner and I saw these 2 guys who were like staring at me as if they were like anticipating me coming around that corner. And then he ran behind them and like into this little like shanty or whatever. And my heart started pounding, and I was like, oh my God, I was like, I'm in a trap right now. Like this little kid just like led me to who knows what. And I'm freaking out. I'm thinking like, okay, maybe I'm just going to get mugged. Like, what do I have on me? I don't have my passport. Good. You know, I'm going through this like checklist in my mind, and it's like terrifying, you know?
Yeah.
And these guys start coming closer to me, and they're talking to me in Arabic, and I'm like telling them, you know, I don't understand. And I just try to sort of like get by them, like to move sort of around where they are and whatever. And on the way there, I already had the presence of mind to start hiding stuff, like, you know, my phone, my credit card, whatever, like, because I just knew like, this is shady. Like something about this is shady.
Where do you hide it?
In my bra or
yeah.
whatever. You know,
yeah.
Normal place.
Right.
And they start getting aggressive, you know, they start sort of like getting close to me and like touching me and like, you know, just like sort of, you know, but in like a flirtatious way, but in a very like aggressive flirtatious way. Mm-hmm. And I try sort of backing around and moving, and I'm not really sure what's happening. So this little boy comes back out, and he's looking at me, and I'm looking at him like, traitor.
Fuck you, kid.
Yeah. So he looks at me, and I think he thought that they were just going to mug me. Like they were just going to, I think this was their like thing that they did. He would lead tourists back there, and they would rob them. But because he's a little boy, I don't think he understood that they would want something else from me. And I think once it occurred to him, when they started like touching me, like grabbing my arm and stuff, he came out, and they both turned around and looked at him, and he looked at me. And when they looked away, he mouthed, "Run." Like to me.
God,
and
I just got chills.
Exactly. And I was just like, holy shit. Like what am I gonna, and so I did, like, I just waited for them to like get far enough away and just like ran. And they didn't, I think they were just so shocked, and they like, and he was out there, and I don't think they wanted to do anything in front of him. And I have no idea what the dynamic was.
How did you like get out of there?
I didn't. Like I hit a dead end, and then another dead end, and it was seriously terrifying. And then finally I came upon a few people, and I know it had to say like, I need help, you know, so I was saying like, I need help. And they realized like something bad had happened, and so they just like got me in they led me the right way and got me in a taxi.
Jeez.
So don't trust children is the moral of the story.
God, that's like creepy.
Of course. It was awful. I mean, who knows really what would happen. Maybe they just were like being flirty and like wanted to just, you know, harass me a little, but you know, not ideal.
God. I mean, what are some other fun countries?
Sorry, let me take a drink of my...
What are we drinking? I already crushed mine.
Oh, we need more.
So good countries.
Good countries. A lot of countries that I never realized would be so fun were amazing. Like South Africa. Like I never would have thought going to South Africa would be something that I was like super into. Like
yeah.
it really was. And I mean, part of that is that I met some great people from there. And speaking of meeting friends before, like there are some people that I make like great connections with. And one girl, you know, she actually came out for Christmas last year and like hung out with like my family and my friends, and you know, so that was just like a really cool experience. But South Africa is one of these places. It's just, you know, when you grow up in America, it's just so far, away. Like,
yeah.
You just don't even. And if you're thinking super far, you're like, okay, Australia, New Zealand, like that's far. South Africa, like what?
Yeah, I don't even know anything about that.
No, I know it's crazy. But the place is it's beautiful. There's beaches, there's wilderness, there's game reserves with like animals and lions and tigers and bear, you know, and like not jungle animals, but there are, you know, some of those. And it's just it's a really cool place. And oh my God, it's so cheap. It's so cheap.
Is it like party town though?
Oh yeah. Cape Town, like Google like Cape Town nightlife. Like,
I saw some picture. Was that where you did the Katy Perry Halloween costume? Was that in South Africa?
That was in Bali. Bali also amazing. Well, they're close. So, you know, once you get out to like South Africa and like Australia, New Zealand, Indonesia, Thailand, those places are all like over there, you know, like, and so you really can experience that kind of thing. And so that's why in my book, like I give advice about how to prolong your trip, because once you're all the way over there, like you really got to stay. It's useless to come all the way back once you're there. So I understand with work restrictions, like people who actually have jobs, and you know, you do have to come back. You can't travel for a long extended amount of time. But you know, the things that I'm trying to help people do is just figure out a way to either save enough money where they can take time off work if they're not getting paid for a vacation. A lot of people don't get paid when they're off. You know, people in sales positions and, you know, waiters and that kind of thing. And you know, I have tools for actually working while you're overseas, so you can actually be making money while you're traveling. And it doesn't require a super long commitment like you would think. Like it really doesn't. Most people just think of like being a nanny or, you know, teaching English or something. And there's so many other things you can do. Like there's fun things. Like you can work the front desk at like a hostel and stay for free and just like check people in. You could be a bartender at like, you know, a lot of these places.
And that's like a way to meet people too.
Exactly. And it's so fun. And, you know, you don't that's the thing. You don't actually like make a lot of money, but it's trade. I've stayed so many places where I've like cooked or cleaned and stayed for free. Not just couch surfing. I mean, actual hotels, like hostels, hotels, you know, bed and breakfasts, that kind of thing. I mean, they wouldn't let you do it because you can like heat up soup.
I can't believe that I worked as a waitress so many places. I was so shitty at it.
I can't even believe that you would remember like not only like where to take the food, but like which restaurant it went to. Like,
yeah. Yeah, that's true. That happened. I went to the wrong restaurant. Taking out a dude for his birthday, and I went to the wrong restaurant. And he thought I was with someone else because nobody could understand how anyone could be so stupid as to go to the wrong restaurant. But Sabrina was like, of course you did.
I just like, he was like mad, and I was like, why are you mad? Like, this is just like, this is Kat's in our life. Like, we're just.
I'm so smart, but when it comes to life things, no, I'm book smart. I'm like, you know, when I say smart, I'm book smart. Yeah. And, you know, I know how to talk about things and write about things.
Sure.
But not in terms of a conversation. No. In terms of like to a camera. No problem.
Well, because the camera doesn't interact with you.
Well, I can interact with people in that kind of setting, but no. I mean, life skills, I don't know. I mean, when I was in the 10th grade, we had to do a scavenger hunt in the park that I was, you know, it was like a biology class. We had to find different, you know, trees, different examples. I got lost in the woods. I wound up on the highway by myself. The whole bus was waiting for me. And
I feel like that's how you stumble across some bodies, like in that.
Yeah, they all thought I had been kidnapped.
That's amazing.
Like the whole bus is waiting for me, and I was like,
I don't suggest solo travel for you.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Necessarily, but I could give you some tips that would help you. But you know, some people don't want to travel by themselves. Some people want to travel with other people, and that's fine. I mean, I've been doing the majority of my traveling alone, but I have traveled with other people, and it's been great. But I would suggest just come with me. Just
actually, I'm like, I want to go somewhere. I need to go somewhere.
You do.
I need a vacay.
Yeah.
But I want to go somewhere with like sexy men.
Well, depending on your oh, I know where you'd like. You'd like Sweden.
Would I?
Yeah. Well, there
I
might be
also
too
like
Muslim.
like South American type guys and like
Okay, well,
Hispanic
that's a very
guys.
broad spectrum.
Like Guatemalan or Colombian or Peruvian.
So I spent the last 6 months in South and Central America, and it was a great time. And yeah, I think you would definitely like it. And also it feels like the thing is, if you're just starting out and you're not super into traveling and you don't really want to be in like third world-ish country, you want people to speak English, you don't want to go full on, you just want to dip your toe in.
Yeah.
South America, Central America is a great place to start because everybody is American. Like all the tourists are American. Everyone speaks English. It is a little more expensive. Like Costa Rica, biggest ripoff. I mean, it's
really?
great. Like if you have some money to spend and that kind of thing, it's fine. But it's all Americans, and anywhere there's a ton of Americans, it's going to cost a lot of money. So I prefer being the only American everywhere that I am because I know that if I'm the only American, I can afford being there.
Yeah.
Because no one else is stupid enough to pay what Americans will pay for.
Yeah, Costa Rica. Everybody loves that Everyone loves that Costa Rica.
That Costa Rica. She's a beaut.
I mean, I want to go to one of those countries where there's just like sexy Hispanic men.
All right. Well, I mean, I feel like...
What if you're like a travel agent? I'm like, what a country where it's like fun and there's like Hispanic sexy men, but like...
I would say for you it would be Chile or Argentina.
Yeah.
For sure.
That sounds yummy.
They're like very spicy and they dance. There's a lot of like salsa and sort of like that kind of dancing, which is fun.
Do you know how to do that?
Yeah.
How? I could never do.
Like dancing?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like classically trained. I'm not going to get up here.
So what are you doing later? Do you want to, instead of going out, just like dance salsa in your
Yes,
hotel?
Yes.
All right, cool.
Yes,
Let's do it.
No, I do. I love it. It's fun. But the problem is when you dance with a guy in another country, they think you want to go home with them. Like, it's not like here where you can like dance with like a bunch of different people at a club. If you dance with a guy in a foreign country, like primarily South America and like strangely enough, like the Middle East,
That's consent?
Yeah. Absolutely consent. You belong to them.
Has that ever like...
There'll be like a goat and like a chicken that'll like show up on your dad's door. Like they just bought you. Like you're theirs now. It's fine.
I mean, did you find that out the hard way?
Sure did. Sure did.
Where was that? What happened?
That was in Turkey. I was in this place called Kuşadası, which is it's honestly, you would really like Turkey. I'm just thinking about it. You really would. I spent a lot of time there, and it is so cheap, so fun. It's a Muslim country, but it's in Europe. They're not part of the EU, but like, nobody is anymore. So it's
right,
fine.
they're all like not into it.
Yeah, it's really fine. They were just ahead of the curve on that one. So it's like a resort town, except it's as beautiful as any resort you've been to in like Mexico. Half the cost of Mexico, which is like already half the cost of everything. It's seriously like you feel like you're just like stealing from everyone because of how cheap everything is. But the guys are good looking and fun. It's a Muslim country, but they're sort of like relaxed. They're not, the young people at least. And I was at this nightclub and I was dancing with just, a few people. I was alone and I just thought like, what's the harm? What's the big deal? And it's a lot of Russians. A lot of Russian people go there. And they would probably think that you were Russian, so they'd be into
I've gotten that before.
Yeah.
People think I'm like Russian or Swedish all the time.
Yeah. Well, you're not really tall enough to be Swedish, but
no.
Yeah. But anyway, the bartender actually came up to me at close to closing time and was like, so do you see the front door? I was like, yeah. And he was like, do you see all those guys? I said, yeah. And he said, they're all waiting for you. I was like,
so you're just dancing with all these guys and they're all like, no, she's mine.
They didn't even realize that they like
were waiting for the same girl.
No. And he was like, he was being serious. He was like, I can't have a fight break out here. He's like, and that's what's going to happen. He's like, which one are you going home with? And I was like, none of them.
Oh my God.
And he was like, no, well, he was like, none of them. And I was like, no. And he was like, well, did you dance with them? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, so which one then? None? Like, all of this was just like my rising intonation was just like, like
oh my God.
And he was like, okay, well, I can't have a fight here. He's like, so you have to go out the back door. And he was like, don't stop until you get to your hotel.
Oh my God.
I was like, it's like 3 a.m. and you want me to like evade capture by like these like 5 like Middle Eastern like
oh my
men
God.
who now think that I'm owed, like they're owed something because we danced together at this bar. The craziest thing. It was the absolute craziest thing. So yeah, I left through the back door and like ran home.
Oh my God. See, even here in New York, I was like at a concert and there was like this Swedish dude who like came up and was like, I accidentally bumped into him and I was doing a weird dance. And he was like, he was talking to me and then he was like, you're pretty. And then he was like staring at me with his friends and pointing at me and talking to me. And then me and my friends left and we turned around and he was there behind me. And he's like, where are we going? And we went to like another, and they all want to go to these like, you know, clubs.
Like the unsa unsa.
Like the I'm like, that's not my scene. I go there and I feel ridiculous.
Yeah, I remember when I tried to teach you like a few like little like sexy dance moves that you could do.
Yeah.
Just like if you had to.
Yeah.
Were we in DC? We were here. No, we were in
Yeah, we
New
were
York.
here.
Do you remember when the cab
Yeah.
driver dropped us off in like in an industrial park?
Yeah, he was like, my shift is over. So I'm like, we got into the cab, we put a destination in mind because that's the whole point
of a
cab.
Sure.
So yeah, and then he just took us back to dispatch with him. He's like, my shift is over.
And we were like, but we asked you. Remember when we said, first of all, remember when your off-duty light was not on.
Right.
And remember when we got in and you started the like fare counter, whatever it's called. Like
we weren't saying let's all go home with you and we all want to bang you and all your taxi friends.
Exactly. But then that's obviously what he thought was going to happen because when he told us to all get out in the middle of the industrial park in our like club wear.
Yeah, we were all wearing like heels and tight little booty dresses.
It was really
in
bad.
like a parking lot.
Was that no, it was Haley.
Haley. Jessica went to bed.
Jessica went to bed. That's why she still works at Fox.
You guys don't know Jessica, but she goes to bed.
But she's the most responsible. She's probably, honestly, we have her to thank for both of us still being alive.
Yeah, absolutely. We absolutely do. She like came over to my apartment with no furniture and helped me record like radio demos.
Yeah. And then we would listen to them and I would tear them apart.
They're bad, but I did my best.
But you know what? You're doing better than me. I mean.
Well, I mean, your life's pretty fun. I need to have more fun.
You do. You
really
need
do.
a better work-life. I talk about work-life balance, Kat, and you need some of that in your life.
Yeah, but I mean, at least I really like my job a lot.
That's
like all 3 of them. I like them.
I was gonna say which one.
This one, Fox, and National Review. Yeah, no, I like all of them. But yeah, God, what was the one you mentioned? Ibiza.
Well, if you're American, you call it Ibiza, but if you're other things, you call it Ibiza.
I can't do that.
Barcelona.
I feel like I learned Spanish a little bit in college and high school, and like I could speak it in LA because I came right from college to LA, and I still had it all in my head, and I like worked in kitchens, so I needed to use it. But it's all gone now, I think.
It probably is.
It's probably totally gone.
There's an app that I use. It's called Duolingo, and it's like a game. Like it's a really fun game that you can just use. It's free, and it'll teach you like whatever language you want to know. Not like actually, but to get by. So it would be interesting to see how far you got because it does like levels.
Yeah,
you could see how much you retain. I've never taken Spanish, learned Spanish, no Spanish, zero Spanish. I got to South America, and I was like, I understand some things. Like I think just living in California for so long, you start to pick it up.
Yeah. You do, and that makes sense. But the way that you've been here, Sabrina's been here visiting me in the city, and yet I live here and I don't know where we should go.
No,
like
not at all. Not at all.
Like, how do you just go to these countries, and do they have Yelp there? Like, how do you figure out where to go?
Thank God I take initiative. Like I've been deferring to you, not because I think you're good at it, but because I just assume like you'd be better at it than me because you live here. But I'm not gonna make that mistake again.
No, I'm really not.
Yeah. No, there's so many sites. Like there's sites that are specifically meant for travelers. There's so many meetup sites. There's so many things you can do. I don't really like people that much. I mean, I do when I do, you know what I mean? So when I'm traveling alone, if I want to be around people, great. I have so many resources to try to be around those people. But the beauty of traveling alone is that I don't have to be around people if I don't want to. I can go days without saying an actual word out loud.
Wow.
And that's my favorite thing.
I could never do that.
You definitely could not.
Even when I'm alone, I'm still saying words.
Well, but you pretend like you're talking to your cat.
well, yeah, and then I answer for him.
In a different voice. What does your cat sound like?
Like that. I shouldn't keep doing it. But he's like, yeah. So it's like Cartman, but like a little different. We can go on about that, or we don't have to. Didn't you? What are the countries you said where you can just buy? A lot of countries you could just buy benzos and opiates over the counter.
Yeah,
that might be something our listeners might be interested in.
Yeah. So, well, the problem is getting them back to the States. So if you want to just use them while you're there, perfect. But if you want to try to travel with them, it's really strange because the countries where they're available, drug use is super illegal. Like in Thailand, you can get all that stuff, but if you have pot, like you're executed.
Really?
Yeah, they have, because they had a military coup a while ago, and now I think the government runs everything in the military, and it's all like very convoluted and confusing. But they have very strict drug laws, and it's crazy because when you hear about Thailand and partying and like these full moon parties and all this other stuff, like everybody's like rolling and everybody's high on everything, but for some reason like the actual rules are like incredibly strict. I don't know if you heard, there was a story about like 3 Australian guys, they were just executed. Like actually for drugs. For drugs.
For like pot or like Molly?
No,
or what?
I think they were dealing, like it was bigger than just like personal use.
Mm-hmm.
But you would think, I mean, Australians are as close to Americans when it comes to the laws, the liberties, the freedoms, all those things. And so to hear that 3 Australians were, convicted, and then like, I don't know if they've been executed yet, but I know that a lot of them, like a couple of them were sentenced. And like it's just terrifying. So you have to be really careful about that kind of thing in foreign countries. You really do.
I mean, so you can buy pills over the counter, but if you're
they don't consider those illicit drugs.
Yeah.
So even though it's hard for us to buy that stuff here, you can buy it there like no problem. But if you are leaving the country and you get caught with it, because we consider it an illicit drug without a prescription, they would consider that a drug offense and then potentially keep you in that country, serving a sentence or whatever it is. Have you ever seen that?
Yeah.
Broke Down Palace?
Which thing?
The Broke Down Palace?
No, I haven't. I thought you were going to say, what is it? Locked Up Abroad. I've seen that.
Oh yeah. No, this was the one with, the one that makes the ugly face all the time. Claire Danes.
Oh.
Claire Danes, she always makes that face. Anyway, I think that she's the one in that. She's the one in Homeland, right?
I don't know. I don't watch anything normal.
You know what? Nothing makes me happier than the fact that I don't know that right now, because a few years ago I would have had to know that. And
for entertainment, yeah. What celebrity do you hate the most that you've dealt with?
Met? Oh
yeah.
Man.
I mean, feel free to mention several.
Yeah. Wow. They're so far from my consciousness now. I mean, Lindsay Lohan.
Really, you hate her?
Maybe not anymore. I mean, she did get her teeth fixed, so she's like nicer to look at now. But she had like meth mouth for a while. Like, really bad meth mouth, yeah. Hate her. A lot of other, like all of the young, like Amanda Bynes, but to be fair, she does have like mental like issues, so I feel bad now about that. But she did like set something on fire in someone's driveway.
Yeah, did she like throw a bong out the window?
I think she threw her dog I don't know. I don't really know, but it was really bad at one time. Just the young, stupid ones. To be honest, I mean, I think they're like your age or my age. They're like pretty close to our ages.
Yeah,
it's uncomfortable.
Well, God, I can't imagine like. So you just had to like hassle them and be like, talk to me for the radio. Like, exactly. What questions would you have to ask?
Well, luckily, I would only have to deal with their publicists, and so I wouldn't have to deal with them too much specifically. But Lindsay Lohan, she was dealing with so many like drug offenses and car offenses. I was in court almost every day dealing with her, and it was just so awful. Honestly, with celebrities now, I feel like they're behaving better. If I had the job now, I might not hate it as much. And honestly, it's changed a lot too. Like the things that they care about, the things that they want to cover. I wish that. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
When you're like, poor Jessica, like I would puke in the office trash can. Like I would get to work in the morning and like just throw up in the trash can next to her, and she'd be like, "It's gonna be one of those days, huh?"
Yeah.
It was just so. I think I was just so much more hateful because I was miserable. And I remember I didn't tell anybody. Like
right.
I didn't tell my bosses or anybody about it until I was like really far along, and so I was just. I was like gaining weight from the steroids, and I felt like gross and uncomfortable. And then they would make me like go to red carpet events and like wear high heels. My feet are all like swollen. And
Jesus.
Like, it was just miserable. Like, it was just really miserable. So it wasn't really them as much as it was my fault for just not admitting it and asking for help, which is my biggest flaw. Well, I have a lot of flaws, but it's one of my
I ask
flaws.
for help too often.
You do. We need to just even it out between us.
Yeah, we do. What's like the craziest thing you've ever seen other than the things we've talked about? Like anything that's crazy positive? Because I know I've made you tell a lot of horror stories.
Yeah, well, there were a few situations where I had people go above and beyond for me in the craziest way that it's weird because, like when I care about someone, I'm like fiercely loyal, like to that person.
Right.
Like I would do anything for them. And it's really hard to get there, but once you're there, you're in. And I do like a fair amount for strangers too. Like it's not like that, but when I was in Australia, I hitchhiked a lot. And I hitchhiked, and I got in this car with this truck driver, which sounds terrible.
Wow.
And I was just talking to him about my trip and everything else. And I was telling him, about my budget and how I do it. Cause everyone's always like, how the hell, like you've been doing this for so long. Like, how do you do it? How did you, And I was telling him, and he had a daughter, and he was really nice. And I was telling him, the only thing I want to do while I'm here is like hug a koala. I just want to hug a koala so badly. And we were driving like a really long distance, like hours and hours. Australia is as big as America, but they have like 10 people that live in the entire country. And so we're driving forever to get to this other place. And we're passing this zoo but it's one of these like wildlife big things. And it's expensive, to go in because it's always like tourists, of course, want to do this stuff. And he just stops the truck and, he was like, okay, well, let's take a break. We have a long way to go. And I was like, okay, sure. So we go and we get to the front and he pays for me to get in. And then he pays extra for me to like hug this koala and then buys me the photos. And I was like so gleeful and happy and excited. And I couldn't believe this stranger was just being so nice to me for absolutely no reason. And we get back in the car and I was like, I can't believe this. Like, this is so sweet and nice and like, wow. And I just was like waiting for it, like,
what's he gonna ask
for? And nothing. He just was like, I just think you're so brave. And if my daughter grows up and is like anything like you, as far as like your tenacity and independence, he's like, I'll be proud. And I was like, that is the nicest thing. Like, obviously I have to give you like sexual favors now. But no, I mean, he was just so nice and sweet and just did that. Like, and it was not cheap. It was probably like, I don't know, like $100 or something. And he's a truck driver. It's not like he has a ton of money.
Right.
So it was just so nice.
How often? How often did you do the hitchhiking thing? And does it work the same in all the countries? Do you do a thumb? Or is that only in the movies?
I just stand at the opening of a nightclub in Turkey, and they'll take me anywhere I want to go. No, yeah, you just stand on the side of the road, and there's also apps for it. To be fair,
there's hitchhiking apps.
Yeah,
in America too.
I don't know.
So it's like Uber for hitchhiking.
Kind of. There's a lot of ride sharing type things where you can pay or you can not pay, but it depends. And you can bid. So there's Zimride is one of them. Like there's a few other ones where you can actually like bid on a seat in a car, like a back seat, a middle seat, a passenger seat, whatever.
What kind of things do you bid?
Money? Like $5, $10. And then if someone outbids you, they get it. And if they don't, and then when the car's full, the car's full. So if you're going to drive from here to like Boston, you could just go on this website and say like, all right, I have three seats open in my car. Does anyone want to ride? And then people will bid on those seats.
And that's like the weird ways that you make money that other people don't realize exist.
Yeah, exactly. There's a ton of ways to make money with your car. I have a whole chapter on like ways to earn money to travel. So they're not specific to traveling. So even if people don't care about traveling, you can still buy my book because I'll give you tips on how to actually just like make more money and save it.
Yeah, I don't ever give your car to me. That's something you learned the hard way.
Kat
I didn't crash it.
she lost my car. I had a Mustang. Like, it wasn't like it was some like beat up like Corolla. Like, she lost my actual car.
I forgot where it was parked.
Yeah, for days, and it accrued parking tickets because of it.
I know, I'm so sorry. Well, it was because like, also, it's not like I was drunk driving. I know that I'm not a good driver, so when I drive, I don't even drink at all.
But
and
I
drive.
feel like we evened it out, because remember when Haley and I stole your car?
Yeah, you and Haley. I woke up. They want to go. They were staying. Sabrina and our friend Haley were staying with me in DC, and they really want to go to Virginia Beach, but I had to go to work the next day. And they were like, "Can you take my car?" I was like, "No." And then I went to bed, and then I woke up, and there was a note that was like, "Here's money for you to get a cab to work." We took your car. And I was mad, but then they brought it back, and it had been cleaned, and it was gross at the time.
It was gross.
It had like McDonald's.
And also, I did call you and said, like, if you want me to order you an Uber, you can use that money for something else.
Yeah.
I'll order you an Uber.
You brought back the car. It was clean, and it was fine. But I was like, they just stole my vehicle.
We did, but you know.
But it was fine. Nothing bad came out of it. It was great. I got a clean car.
You did. That's the kind of friend I am.
I know. You'll steal your car, but she'll make it worth it for you.
Yes. Yes, I will.
So we're getting close to the end. I mean, not like super, but like, is there anything you wanted to share specifically, like tips wise? And you talked about your book.
Yeah, I think, the biggest thing is flights. Flights are the most expensive thing for people. And I have ways that I can get really cheap flights, not only with points and credit cards, but with actually changing your browser to think it's in another country. And that country will offer cheaper flights. So if it thinks you're in Malaysia, for instance, where the cost of living, and everything and the income is very low, they're not going to expect you to pay the same thing as you would for a flight if you were booking it in America. So it's all has to do with like ghost VPNs, and it's a little bit complicated to explain, in a podcast, but that's why if you get my book, you'll have it in written form and you can actually highlight it and see what to do. So my book is there'll be a link on my website, which is just my name, sabrinasabbagh.com. And then it's also going to be on this great travel website that I've partnered with. They're helping me with all the book orders, and it's allthings-travel.com. But I think easiest is, my name. And
yeah.
And you can find it there. I'll be promoting it on like my Instagram and all social media and that kind of thing. So yeah, I mean, if you want to get the book, you should.
Yeah, I would say you guys should get the book. I mean, your life is fascinating. It's like, I always can't wait to see you. And I'm always just like, what are you doing, Kat? I'm like, a lot of work and hanging out with people who are beneath me. That's what I do.
I fly back specifically so that you can hang out with someone who is well above you.
I really appreciate that. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. Sabrina, you're wonderful.
So are you. Sometimes.
You're wonderful. All right. Yeah, well, sometimes. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you.